Okay, the Apter Rov was known as the Ohev Yisroel. And one of my favorite vertlets from the Ohev Yisroel, why was he called the Ohev Yisroel? Is because he loved Yidden. And wherever he looked, he saw Ahavas Yisroel. Rabbi Nayowitz has a son-in-law. His name is Yisroel Lover. And the family calls him the Ohev Yisroel. So this Yid, the Apter Rov, saw Ahavas Yisroel everywhere. So once it was Parshas Balak, and one of his Chassidim asked him, Rebbe, die zeist, wie de sich, zeist ze nor Ahavas Yisroel. Wie kemen zijn in de Parshas van Bulak, Ahavas Yisroel? Wo is Bulak? So that wegen Schelken Yidden, in Machshos an Yidden, in Magayvus an Yidden, so there's dort can Ahavas Yisroel. So the Apter Rov said, what are you talking about? That's such an easy one. Bulak is Rosh Tevis. V'ahavta, l'rayacha, kamaycha. Beautiful. So the Chus of the Rebbe, Tznish kan bais, v'ahavta is mit a vov. And kamaycha is a kufnish kan kif. So the Rebbe said, you're being a stickler, where's a captain mit kaimal shubin can Ahavas Yisroel. You have to mevater. So that was the Ahavas Yisroel. So the Apter Rov was the Rov and Apt. That's why it was called the Apter Rov. Right? Or like Bianca Lewis said, the reason why they called the city Apt is because that's where the Apter Rov was Rov. But he was the Rov and Apt. Know where he's buried? The Apter Rov was actually buried in Mezbish. He's not buried in Apt, which is strange. Why wouldn't he be buried in the city that he was a rabbi? There's also a legend say that even though he was buried in Mezbish, Malachim came and transferred him to Tveria. Because in the old basic forest in Tveria, there's this big stone there that's known as the Apter Rov Stein. And the legend has it that the Malachim transferred his remains there. But nevertheless, his Matseva is in Mezbish. So the question is, why was he buried in Mezbish? So the answer is, when the Apter Rov was at the pinnacle of his career, he got up one day and told his Kehillah, ladies and gentlemen, I am hereby resigning. I'm no longer going to be the Rav here. They were flabbergasted. They said, why wouldn't you be the Rav here? We treat you so well. We respect you. We actually pay you way above the average salary that a Rav gets. So why would you want to leave? So he says, I'm going to tell you, it's nothing that you did wrong, and it's nothing that I'm upset, but I want to share with you a story, and then you'll understand. 100 years ago, there was a couple that lived not far from this area here in the region, and they had two twins, 3-year-old boys, and never something happened, they both passed away, and there were 2 Yisomim left. In those days, people were so poverty-stricken, no one could take a Yosim, and 2 Yisomim would be impossible. So there was no choice. They had to split these kids up. And one of these children was adopted by someone in whichever village they were in. And the other child they had to ship off because they only found a family in Apt who was able to adopt this child. And they were separated at a very young age. There was no communication in those days. So of course they completely lost touch with each other. One of these people, the person that lived in Apt, became a very successful merchant, became a very wealthy man. The child that remained in the little village that he was born in was poverty-stricken, but neither of them had children. And one day, the wealthy man falls sick. He's already middle-aged, and he falls sick. And when people are sick and they're feeling mortal, they start thinking about their life and they have flashbacks. And he remembered that as a little child he had a brother, which means that when he dies, his wife would be Zopek Yibum. So the simplest solution would be to divorce her, like they did by the Milchemes David, like we learned. But the problem is he was rich. There was no way she was going to accept a divorce from him. And besides the fact, he probably couldn't afford to divorce her because how expensive it is. So she told him, what am I supposed to do? That was my only addition to the story. What am I supposed to do? I'm going to become an Akuna. So her husband said, this is what we could do. Chances are my brother's not very far away because they didn't have such sophisticated means of travel in those days. So I'm going to write a letter, many letters, to all the Rabbanim of all the surrounding Kehillas of where we are, and describing exactly the man we're looking for. And hopefully someone will be able to identify this person. And he did that, and Nebuchadnezzar passed on. And a couple of months after the seed passed away, the Almoner gets a letter from a Rav of a neighboring city that says, we have your man. So she's so excited, now she'll be able to be freed, she won't be in Akuna. She writes a letter back to the Rav, tell my brother-in-law that if he comes to gives me a chalitza, I'm a very wealthy lady, my husband left me over a lot of money, I will give him half of the entire inheritance. So the Rav, with that information, right away spoke to a Gvir in the city, and he asked him if he would finance the train ticket, because how is he going to get there otherwise? And with such a Yerusha coming, no problem. Everybody was happy to provide financing. With that, the Rav calls him to seat and says, this is the story. I even have money for you for a ticket. I think you should go. So the Yid says, sure, I think it's a great idea, but before I take on a trip like that, I think it's only appropriate that I discuss it with my wife. So he goes home and he proposes this to his wife. His wife says, Yanko, let me ask you a question here. How often do you have an opportunity to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Krishma? He says, twice a day. Okay, good. And how often do you have the opportunity to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Tefillin? He says, once a day. And how often do you have the opportunity to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Shabbos? Once a week. And how often do you have the opportunity to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Shofar? Once a year. And how often do you have the opportunity to be Mekayim the mitzvah of Chalitza and free on Akuna? Once in a lifetime. And you're going to sell away such a schus for money? Are you crazy? I want you to swear right here, right now, that you will not accept 1 penny to do this chalitza. And he made a shvua. Suddenly that loan for his train ticket dried up. And he had to walk for a month just to get to this city. And he did that with Mesiras Nefesh. And he, of course, arrives tattered and torn like a vagabond. And when he identifies himself, he's, of course, greeted with great fanfare. And they clean him up. And he comes to Bezdin to write out to do the chalitza. As soon as the chalitza is completed, the door to the Bishmedrash opens, and there's a beautiful wagon loaded up with gold coins right outside. And the sister-in-law tells him, my dear brother-in-law, that money is for you. He says, what do you mean the money is for me? I'm not taking any money. She said, no, I sent to your Rav a letter that I'm going to be giving you half the estate if you come to chalitza. He says, really? Because I made a promise, I made a shavua that I would not accept a penny to do this mitzvah. She says, but what are you talking about? I said I'm going to give it to you. He said, I'm sorry, I can't take it. So he says, you know what? We must be related. We're fighting already. So we're for sure related. No. So they had this problem. So she said, I can't take the money back because I promised it. You can't accept the money. What we should do is let's donate it to the Kehila of Apt. And that's what they did. They donated the money to the Kehila of Apt. This Yid now is walking home. And as he's walking home, the heavens start to tremble. And the Gzeira upon him not to have children was broken. And he was zoichet to have a child. So he went home and he was with his wife, and a short while later he had a child. Zok Apter Rov. You know who that child was? That's me. I only took this job because I knew about all that money from my family that was left in the Kehila of Apt. So I took the job because I wanted that money back. According to my calculations, that choiv is completely paid off, and that is the reason why I am going to retire. Zatmich isn't. I am moving back to Ezbus.
Yossi,
It's a beautiful story.
It's a beautiful story, and you said it once. I think Dave and I only heard it.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it, and I listened to